Hello everyone, welcome back to Fix the Family. My name is Raylan Alama and we are bringing you truth without compromise for the family. We are coming to you live from our chapel here in South Louisiana where we attend the Latin Mass. Now we're going to start up again. This is the first edition of our blog video series again here in the 2015 season. It's May 21st, 2015, and what I want to talk about in this particular segment are the flattering words of Satan to today's women. And if you saw our Facebook page this week, you might have seen an item that got quite a bit of action. It had quite a bit of reach out there, and I encourage you to go look at that because this particular article is actually linked on there, and I want to share a little bit about it. But first of all, just the whole idea of what it's all about, and it's something that we keep repeating so that we are aware and understand the depth of this evil that is being launched upon the young ladies in our society today. And it pretty much, for the most part, goes along like this. You know, from a very early age, the little girls are sent to school, and they're encouraged to get a career and to go on and to have something meaningful in their life. And they do, and they learn a lot. And then they go in and graduate from high school and are encouraged to go to college and get a degree. You know, that an education, all these words, an education that can never be taken from you. And since they have that great education, ability to earn a living, they marry and they go on and get a job, and they postpone having children at that point. In the most the greatest opportunity to bear children at that time, they're not, because they're getting established in a career, and they put it off, and they eventually have children, and it's so hectic to try to have a job and have children and raise them, and they're at odds with their own very nature, with their emotions, trying to raise that child and do well at work at the same time, and it's nearly impossible. And they fight with themselves over and over, and it's very big ruckus for the whole family. And so they try to have more children, and again, more ruckus and more chaos, to eventually, you know, and all this time, the great majority are committing mortal sin by contracepting. And at this point, they're so frustrated that they commit further mortal sin by mutilating their bodies, or even worse, or just as bad, having their husbands mutilate their bodies so they can no longer bear children. And this is where a lot of it ends. And what happens later on is regret. And I'm going to, with this item that was on our Facebook page, called, in this edition, it's called "When Satan Tells You You're Too Good for Motherhood." And it was an original article written by Marion Fernandez-Cueto on the Crisis Magazine website, crisismagazine.com, in 2009. And I just want to quote a little bit from this article and just give a little explanation, because her example really speaks to and gives a good example, a live example of this scenario I've been talking about all this time. She says, "There's a line in Scripture that has always infuriated me. It's Timothy 2, verse 15. And for years, I could not read it without wanting to hurl my Bible at the wall." And there's 2 points that I want to take from this article. I want you to notice. One is the feminist language, as code words that feminist agenda uses, that get repeated. It's the indoctrination. It's very firmly embedded into the minds of men and women, but of these women, and that's what is at odds with their very nature. And the second thing being the regret that happens later on in their lives. She says, "The woman," writes St. Paul, "will be saved by childbearing if only she continues with faith, love, and holiness." And that's the end of the quote from the Scripture. She says, "It's baptized misogyny," that's the key word, "was insulting enough. How typical to posit a woman's salvation within her social confines of barefoot pregnant servitude. That's another key word, barefoot pregnant. That's what they use all the time. Yet beneath it lurked a more devastating injury, the idea that a woman's sanctity was tied up in motherhood. That spelled damnation for me. I thought for the drudgery of childbearing was the last thing I aspired to. Then I fell in love with a man who wanted kids the way former boyfriends had dreamed of plasma TVs, and he wooed and pursued me. I realized it was not motherhood per se that I long feared and mocked. It was the utter dying to self that motherhood entails. My individualism and selfishness, more key words, individualism, were alive and well, fostered by nearly a decade of independence, during which my time, decisions, money, plans, and body had remained solely my own. Okay, and this is the mentality of so many women, even Catholic women today. It's not so much the motherhood, it's the dying to self. She says, yet through it all I rebelled. A voice in my head echoed the old cry of Lucifer, non serviam, I will not serve. You are too good for this, said the voice. You were made for better things, not the endless, mind-numbing tedium of diapers, dishes, and laundry. Okay, more key words. That's the tedium. Where's the glamour, the intellectual stimulation, the chances and promotions you will deserve? Is this really what God intended for you? The voice would resume each morning as I watched the army of lawyers, interns, swinging down 16th Street with their lattes and briefcases and careers, each smartly dressed young woman luxuriating in her phone conversations. An iPod represented a life I couldn't have anymore, because she had decided to have children. Opportunities and experiences that would never be mine. You see, the voice would prod, you see. So she goes to confession for this confusion that she's having, because she did what the church said. She had children. The confessor, she admits to him, says, I want to be me again. I just want me. I want me again. I just want me. All of us want that, the confessor said. But remember what Jesus said, what the gospel said. He who seeks to save his life will lose it. Unless a grain of wheat falls to the earth, we know we can't find happiness that way. And she got proof that she couldn't have happiness that way. Even though she was at odds with it, she was confused with it. The grass always looks greener, right? You know, everybody else has got it better, and she's there with the drudgery of children, of having a child and taking care of it. Her friend Veronique comes into the picture, you know, old college buddy. And Veronique has the life that she had longed for. And what does she say? She's a single, gorgeous, multilingual painter, was living out the very fantasy I tried to articulate to my confessor. She jetted around the globe with no apparent responsibility, standing between her next whim and reality. Her family was distant. Her jobs, like her love interests, were sporadic and provisional. All were powerless against the lure of new ventures and continents. I couldn't wait to hear her stories. However, Veronique was miserable, and desperately so. Approaching 30, like me, her hard independence, emotional skittishness, and sheer impulsivity were travelogues forwarded to massive lists of friends were unacknowledged. The handful of men in her life arrived and then disappeared with a disturbing, familiar, slapdash autonomy. Yet the promising internships and positions were passing her by for younger college grads who had long since paid their dues in 9-to-5 grunt jobs. And you see, this is what happens, is that these lies that are told, and how quickly these people in careers are just thrown away for the next person coming up, for them to pay less, you can still do the same job. Veronique seemed haunted by stirring realizations that years of self-direction, self-discovery, and self-fulfillment, so greedily panted after by me, had brought her not nirvana, but only herself. And she was starting to find unbearable as she watched me wipe the applesauce from Dominic's chin, help him down from his high chair, and start preparations for yet another meal. Her eyes reflected not pity, but raw, naked wishing. And her next words startled me. I wish I had someone to love and to give myself to like that. She said, sometimes I'm afraid my heart is going to shrivel up. And this is the hardness of so many young ladies that are facing today, who have given up years of childbearing just for power, prestige, and all those things that go along with it. And this is Satan's trick, because they have regret, and they can't turn back the clock. Those days are gone. They can't go back and have those children that they missed. And it's all over. And so many ladies are out there today, just like her, that missed it. They say, I missed it. And it's too late. But we who are parents, who have daughters, can change that for the next generation. That's what we're talking about here. We have a message here that we have to pay attention to, that we can pass on to the next generation. Let's look at these things logically and within the context of the teachings of the church, where the church tells us about motherhood and the importance of motherhood. This is what we can pass on to our daughters, and we must. It's incumbent upon us to pass it on to them. This is what's going to fix the family. This is what's going to return the stability to the families that we need in the church today. That's our message today. Watch out for those flattering words of Satan that are being told to our daughters, and make them aware of it so that they can have a life that is going to be fulfilling and as God intended. God bless you.